and welcome to Amazing Women in E-commerce, or as we call it, AWIE Online. My name is Liz Stack, and I'm the Community and Brand Manager here at Yotpo. The question we get asked the most by far about AWIE is, when can I nominate someone? And ordinarily, we open up nominations in October. But because there was so much enthusiasm throughout the AWIE community and at Yotpo this year, we decided to get started early. So I'm excited to announce that nominations are open now, like literally they just opened right now. So please hurry over to womeninecom.com/nominate and be the first to recognize an amazing woman founder, leader, innovator, or marketer, or rising star to be a 2024 honoree. And speaking of honorees, our main event today is a panel featuring two of our honorees from past years. Angie Tran of Kind Laundry, which is a company that provides zero-waste laundry care products, and Kriney Insalata of Bohu Beauty, which is a company that provides eco-friendly makeup brushes. They'll be discussing the challenges and triumphs of launching and scaling a brand, and sharing insights from their journeys as founders. But before we get into that, we're going to hear from Ashley Brown, Development Coordinator at Girls Inc. This organization has been woven into AWIE's DNA since our launch back in 2018. And to date, we're proud to say that we've raised more than $150,000 to support the next generation of women in business. Yotpo donates $5 to Girls Inc. for every nomination. So you aren't just celebrating amazing women when you nominate. You're raising money for an incredible cause that supports amazing girls. Lastly, I'd like to give a shout out and a thank you to our amazing sponsors for this event, ShipBob, Digio, and Sequel. All of their sponsor contributions have gone directly to Girls Inc. as well. If you're as excited as we are and want to celebrate on social, please use the hashtag WomenInEcom and tag us at WomenInEcom and at Yotpo. Ready to get started? Ashley's joining from the Girls Inc. headquarters to fill us in on all of the amazing things happening there. Over to you, Ashley.
Hello to the Yotpo and the Amazing Women in E-commerce team. My name is Ashley Brown. I'm so delighted to be here today to represent Girls Inc. I'm a development coordinator from our corporate partnerships team here at our organization. Girls Inc. is a preeminent girls leadership organization that provides a comprehensive and interactive development experience, equipping women and girls to reach their full potential through mentorship, safe spaces, direct services, intentional programming, learning opportunities, and through advocacy. We wholeheartedly believe that girls are powerful now. When girls are supported through the Girls Inc. experience, they're able to tap into their full potential, transforming their lives, their communities, our companies, our governments, and realizing their vision for a more equitable world. As a development coordinator at Girls Inc., I work with individuals, foundations, corporate donors who believe in our mission, support our work, and support the girls and the young women that we uplift. Your generous gift enables more girls to benefit from our Girls Inc. programming and the Girls Inc. experience, and build a new generation of strong, smart, and bold leaders. From all of us at Girls Inc., thank you to Yotpo and the Amazing Women in E-commerce team for your support to Girls Inc. and the strong, smart, and bold girls we serve. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Pareda, Senior Partner Manager at Yotpo, and I'm super excited to be joined by two amazing women founders and our awesome and amazing women in e-commerce honorees. So 2023 honoree Angie Tran from Kind Laundry and 2022 honoree Kriney Insalata, co-founder of Bohu Beauty. Wanted to get that right. We are going to hear a little bit about their journeys and how they're navigating the current landscape, especially with all things tumultuous, but also being incredibly strong women founders in this space. So let's first kick it off with a quick introduction. Can you tell us a little bit about yourselves, your brand, what makes your brand unique quickly? And then also we'd love to hear a little bit about your favorite e-commerce brand to shop and why you love it. Always great to get a little insight into that world. And let's go ahead and start with you, Angie.
Hi everyone, my name is Angie and I'm the co-founder of Kind Laundry. We turn laundry routine into ritual self-care with our innovative products that are kinder to the planet and also to people. So this is one of our products. Everything is in zero waste packaging, and all of our products is biodegradable and non-toxic. And some of our favorite brands, our personal brand, my personal product is from Kind Laundry. It's a stain remover bar. It's a travel size, and I carry this everywhere I go because I like to wear white and light clothes. So again, it's sustainable and it's non-toxic. But if I had to choose another brand outside of Kind Laundry, it would be Aritzia. I'm not sure if you guys heard of that brand, but it was a Canadian brand, and in the last 10 years grew really big all over the US right now. And what I like about them is when they went, is a retail store for women's clothing, but they went online and they just killed it. More specifically because they were able to create funnels and systems in place where they target you specifically. So every single time I'm in their list, every single time they send me an email or an SMS, I felt like they're speaking to me based on my past behavior and what the clothes that I buy. So I just felt like they just kind of nailed it on the retention strategy.
I love it. That's a really good point. And I love that you have a like a stain remover, because I constantly do it. It's why I wear black often, just it's much easier, because every time I wear white, it's like the biggest attractor for any stain, any kind of like drop of wine, something. So that's amazing, because I carry your competitor, but I love that it's not in a plastic tube, and you can just kind of wash it out. So that's great. Love that. All right, Cranny.
Angie, I have to say, the last time we spoke and you introduced your product, and I didn't really quite appreciate like how much you actually need that sort of product, because I also love white and I'm always wearing white shirts. And I remember just immediately after that call, I was drinking a cup of tea and I literally splashed a cup of like,
Oh no.
all over my shirt. And I just thought, oh my God, that's why you need that. So yeah, so my name is Cranny Installata. I'm based in the United Kingdom, in London specifically, and also partially in Italy. I have a love affair with Italy. I love the food, love the people, love the history, everything Italian I love. And I co-founded Boba Beauty 3 years ago, during a time that was quite tricky and difficult. This was during the pandemic, when no one was wearing makeup, and people would ask me like, why are you creating this product? But actually there was a real reason behind why I wanted to create this product, and we can talk a little bit more about that later on. But yeah, it's been fun, kind of realizing a business and actually really creating it. And I think the pandemic for me was almost a blessing, because the world just stood still for a minute and you just had time to think. There was nothing going on other than actually trying to do something productive. So yeah, it's been a very interesting journey indeed.
And I love your brushes, first of all, because I love the color choice of the red on the handle and sort of the uniqueness of your brand.
Yeah.
Just you mentioned in our prep call like about the brand and like what is unique about the brushes. So love that, because I love a good, beyond Zoom filters, thank God for those during COVID where you could, pretend to have some makeup on.
Yeah.
It's always nice to get new brushes. So we'll definitely have to check them out. And I think it's a really interesting time for especially a business like yourself, where you said people weren't in the market utilizing the makeup, but rather it was an opportunity to like launch a product during that time, and get really creative on how you're going to keep top of mind when people aren't necessarily utilizing that part of the business, or I should say cosmetics line, while at home and staying in. I feel like I only wore makeup maybe once every few weeks. So it was a nice skin. Maybe it cleared up our skin for better makeup results. That's what I'll say during the pandemic. So speaking of challenges, really founding your own, really kind of creating your own brand is a huge undertaking, to say the least. So what really sparked the entrepreneurial, appetite or excitement in both of you? Like, why did you get started? What was the catalyst for, starting your own business? I would just be so curious. So Cranny, why don't we start with you?
Right. So I work in branding, brand strategy, business strategy. And so I've always worked with brands, creating stories, creating brands that are really kind of differentiated. And I've worked literally from airlines to retail to everything in between. And I have been paid to actually do this for clients. And I've always harbored desires to, to do something myself, to create a brand that I really believe in, that would be really cool, and meaningful. So I did an MBA. And at the end of the MBA, I thought, okay, I can't be an entrepreneur. I think I should just go into full-time business consulting, suit, booted, everything. That's what I wanted to do. Halfway through this very expensive MBA, I just discovered that that's just not for me. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And so when I finished, I sort of, worked around a little bit. I worked for myself, consulting with other people on a freelance basis until, during the pandemic, I just thought it's now or never. I think I've just been given that chance to do this. And creating Boba Beauty was really something that was really personal to me, because I have extremely sensitive skin and I love makeup. And I always use brushes. But if you can look at the market, I mean, it's completely saturated with so many brushes, ranging from sort of, $2 a blush brush to, $300. And nobody knows what is that massive difference. Like, what is that gap? And what we sought out to do was really create brushes that are long lasting. They're completely handmade. We've used the most innovative materials that you can find in the market. They're handcrafted just outside of Venice, in Italy. And the people that actually use our brushes, they're employed just because of the dexterity of their fingers, and the fibers of our brushes. They feel like real hair, but they're completely vegan, and we're sustainable. So we really pulled out all the stops to make a brush that would really make a difference. They never lose their shape, and they never shed. They're never rough on your skin, and they're the first ones to be dermatologically tested. So we've really put in a lot of work into something that people might say, it's just a brush. But actually, it's an investment. It's an investment for your skin.
Yeah.
And, a lot of 1 in 3 women has terrible skin, because of makeup. Because it's like a painter who's got very expensive paint, but really poor brushes. And
Yeah, or we're the worst with most women, I know I'm guilty of it. I'm the worst about cleaning my brushes. So the fact that it's dermatologically tested and allows you to have that sustainability, but also be able to, for the practical use of a lot of us not cleaning our brushes as often as we probably should, when we look at all the studies that show what the bacteria is on there. So that's great. Love that. Unique perspective.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, technically, I would say, we spend far too much time on literally every single inch of that brush. Nothing, we've thought about everything. Looking at competitors, we've actually had a manufacturer, I think, back in China, who's been trying to copy our brushes. Of course, but it's all very interesting. And it's been, as I said, it's been a very long learning process, and exciting.
Well, speaking of environmentally friendly or ESG focused, Angie, tell us a little bit about why you got started. I mean, that's a very impacted space too as well. So what was your differentiator? Why did you want to become an entrepreneur in this space and create this product?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's similar to Craney. My last corporate job was a digital marketing manager. So I just thought it was really fascinating to see how the technology landscape has evolved over time, from the internet to a smartphone to e-commerce with Shopify, and all these technologies that really helped us be able to create a product and sell it globally. So I guess the first entrepreneur journey we had, me and my husband today, was actually working we had a fast food franchise. And during that time, we were making, those places where you can make salad on the go. So it's
Yes.
healthy fast food. So the way we did it was that we had to put all the ingredients together, like fresh organic ingredients, which is healthier for you, but we had to use plastic bags to shake it up. And the amount of trash that we have to go through, at least in the commercial level, was just crazy. And we're just one little restaurant. So imagine times how many thousands of restaurants all over the world kind of doing that. And we're supposed to be eco-friendlier. So during that time, because I was a digital marketing manager, I heard about e-commerce. So on the side, our second job, this is like life of an entrepreneur, was to learn about e-commerce. And we opened
Yeah.
up our first store and learned like Shopify and how to sell online, Facebook ads, etc. So lots of launches and lots of failures. But when Kind Laundry, the concept came about, it just kind of clicked and made sense because we had the skills of how to market online, but plus a product that we're actually passionate about and where we can make a real impact. So that's how it all came together. Yeah.
I love it because it's like interesting how your first business, there was a challenge and it was one of the biggest obstacles, and you were able to pivot into another area of the business where you're still having sort of the same ethos of like, having sustainability, trying to, impact what I think has been an ever-changing world in terms of climate and all these other things, and our individual impact on that. And then as well as like just trying to make a business sustainable also within this economy, within this market, knowing some of the obstacles. Speaking of that, what are some of the obstacles that you both have faced in this, in this space? Maybe some triumphs as well, because I always love to focus on some of the good things I think that are happening within the wider ecosphere, but it's specifically from a lens for women, right? Because it's different, it's a different aspect. And I think that we experience different challenges in different ways, and we also experience different triumphs in different ways, whether that's using the community of the amazing women in e-commerce community to help grow your business, or just connect or network, or if it's also some challenges that you're facing. So I'd love to hear a bit about something that you're facing recently, or a triumph that you've had this year that you've been really excited about, but also from a lens of being a woman in this business. So Angie, do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, we have the list of challenges is much longer than triumphs. So I'll start with a big one, which I think a lot of anyone that sells physical product kind of goes through all the time, is like supply chain management and logistics. It's a nightmare for us, especially because now we have like a Canadian warehouse and a US based warehouse, but also in this industry, it's very male dominated as well. So they're not, I don't know why, but like it's just so unorganized in those industries. So we've actually had to change over so many times, like 3PL companies, etc. So it's constant like hounding, a lot of our vendors and suppliers, but it's part of, running a business. That was our biggest challenge. So yeah, I think we are actually in a good place right now, just by just continue to find like better vendors and having processes in place with them. And I think it just has to do with just pretty much hiring. So we finally got to a point in our team where I'm hiring more people to help support in that. They're experts at what they do, so that's very helpful. So that's like a big learning for us. Yeah. And a triumph would be, so as soon as we launched, just 1 year into our business, Better Homes and Gardens, which is like a pretty big publication. They had this award every single year. It's called the Clean House Awards, where they like test hundreds of products. And we were actually named the best eco-friendly laundry detergent. So we beat out like Tide and Gain, like all your big name, like on the front page. So that was actually a big one for
That's
us. And
amazing.
Oprah, yeah, that's really huge because it shows credibility. Because
Yeah.
people think like sometimes eco-friendly products is not as effective, but we were able to show that not only is it more effective, not just as it's more effective in terms of cleaning, but it's also better for you, better for the environment as well.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think
yeah.
it gives that validation stamp, but also it's like validation of all the hard work and effort that you've put into ensuring that the product stands on itself, right? Because you can have great marketing, you can have great experiences, you can get, like to your point earlier, you can get segmented really well and get targeted really well. But if the product doesn't actually work, right, it's useless. So the fact that like people are validating that product, that's amazing. And I also think it says a lot to the efforts that you put in to create, I think, a really sustainable product of like those, Better Homes and Gardens, no small feat. So that's pretty incredible. Carney, what about you? What have been some of your biggest challenges or triumphs this year navigating in the, whether it's in the cosmetic space or just in general as a woman in this industry?
Well, I think I would say, I mean, first of all, like we went out looking for funding. So most of what we've done, we had a little bit of funding, from friends and family. So that was great because, you're talking about creating a product from scratch and all of the things that come with that. But I was really, that was a triumph in a way that we managed to actually get the product out in the way that we really, really wanted the outcome to be. I would say a triumph was also really being shortlisted within 18 months of us launching. So we were shortlisted for a Pure Beauty Award, which is an award here in the UK, against like really well-known and prestigious brands. We were also the editors kind of selection, like we were picked as the beauty brand to be, you know, to watch out for by Vogue, Harper Bazaar, Tatler, and The Stylist. So we were really, I mean, those were like massive triumphs. I would say probably the biggest one is that we haven't got a massive marketing budget. So everything that we do has been through referrals, and we sell globally, and I have no idea how they find us, you know, find out about us, because we have actually been pivoting our strategy a little bit, so we've kind of put a hold on advertising. But we're selling, as I was saying, in our prep talk, that we're selling in, you know, Santa Barbara, Montecito, and I have no idea why, because we haven't even.
It's Oprah. She's been sharing it with her book club at a local.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in
or Meghan Markle. I should be, you know, equal. It could be Meghan Markle. You never know.
Maybe it could be because it's all, you know, it's sort of I get sort of like 5 or 10 orders from the same area, from the same sort of specific group, and then we've been very successful also, you know, in Spain, and in Germany, in Austria, and as far away as Australia. And so those have been triumphs, and I'm not saying we're, you know, making millions and millions, but it's been really encouraging to see that. Challenges, I would say, I don't know about you, Angie, but I have noticed that there is a whole industry of people that just sort of jump on the bandwagon of startups, promising all sorts of things, you know, to help you sell better, to do your SEO, to do this, to do that. We can, you know, make you tons and tons, you know, of conversions, etc., etc. So I think that's also been really difficult to navigate what, you know, what is actually real and what people are asking. You know, some people are asking, like, you know, a retainer of $20,000 a month. And I said, look, if I can get $20,000 a month, then I might as well just do it myself. I mean, I'm not gonna, it means I'm selling well, it means that I'm doing well, right? So if I'm it doesn't make sense. So I think I would say it's the funding situation is really tricky, I think, for women. I've been on quite a few investors panels and funding rounds, and what I've noticed is that a guy can come up with an idea, and it's just an idea. It's saying, I want to make this in a sort of, I don't know, a membrane made of fish because, you know, it's biodegradable. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but it's going to be done. And I'm asking for 500,000 for me to realize, you know, to come up with a minimum viable product. But compared to someone like us, that we actually say, we have the product, we've got the technology, it's all done, we've, you know, we've tested it in the market and it's doing quite well. Can you please help us so that, you know, we need funding X amount? And it's really difficult because it's like, oh yeah, but it's beauty, it's a brush. I'm like, yes, but loads of women wear makeup. Like, the population is 50% women.
Well, the buying power. It's like,
and with the buying power, and also it's, you know, a makeup brush, I always equate it to having a beautiful underwear, or a beautiful underwear, because no one is really going to see it when you're walking down the street, right? But when you wear a beautiful bra and a beautiful underwear, and then you put your perfume, and you feel great. So it's the same way for makeup. When you put your face on, and it's just that ritual of sitting there with your beautiful brushes, it just encourages that space, your own space of indulgence. And in that moment, this is what we try to capture. But trying to tell a man that, they just don't get it.
No,
And
and
you,
I think there's a challenge of like, I think in general, right? So like I just feel like I've heard this from so many women founders is like fundraising, walking into the room, it's like I have to clear out all these other voices and noises around them just to get them to like to pay attention to the product. Whereas like my male counterparts, or if I have a co-founder that happens to be, or someone that's on the C-suite that comes in with me as a male. And
yeah,
I mean, I've even dealt with this when I worked in finance before. I'd walk in the room with a colleague and they would default to my colleague knowing more. And but
yeah,
it took advocates and allies in the room to redirect and shift back. And I think
yeah,
that's also an important part of the conversation is like, who do we have advocating for us? Who do we have that's in our life that is like, you've your husband that's a male co-founder, right? And fortunately, unfortunately, you sometimes need other allies in the room to help advocate. But I
yeah,
also watch some really incredible people advocate for women in the room and to be like, no, this is the person. This is how you need to pay attention. Here's what that conversation looks like. So it's a delicate balance of creating your own space and also having allyship within the wider environment to do that, and who's advocating for you. And that's just, it's an unfortunate reality that I think we all face, but
yeah,
specifically in the fundraising area, because everyone is going out to market trying to get additional funds. Cost of acquisitions have gone up, right? Getting a new subscriber or a new purchaser, it's just high in cost. And so it's really about
yeah,
retention. How do you do that? And I can imagine it's tough to navigate. So you've talked about a few points, Granny, which is just like, okay, how do I take out the noise, figure out like what is actually important part of my tech stack, or what's important part of like helping me to grow and scale in
yeah,
the way in which my brand needs to at the time and place my brand is at, not ahead of it, right? So we always say we want to grow, like as Yapo, we want to grow with the brand, not ahead of the brand. So it's
yeah,
really important to like be partners with them. But I think it's probably hard for you as founders to figure out, okay, what's noise right now and what isn't, and utilizing the community of other women that are founders to say, okay, what have you found? What has been, an environment that you've looked in and that it's actually helped you grow, and especially in the
yeah,
space you're in. And then also having I think the community to figure out, how do I manage this conversation with investors, or have you gone to pitch with them? What worked, right? So
yeah,
finding another woman that maybe has been funded by them to figure out what worked and what resonated, because you always have to figure out what the voice in the room is going to resonate with, including your customers, right? So you got to figure out that unique voice and perspective, and that's probably a challenge just in the wider market in general with investors, especially, and also just money is tighter. And so
yep,
they're looking at it from a different lens. And that's a really challenging part right now, especially in the two spaces that you're in.
yeah.
You guys have been at this both for a while. And if you could go back, so you kind of have had this perspective of like going in those rooms, stepping away, learning from those conversations. What's one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self, knowing now what you know versus what you knew then? So is there anything that like stuck out to you that you're like, oh, I wish I would have known this about, navigating the space, or just being a woman in as an entrepreneur? Any advice you'd give to yourself?
Um, well, I mean, I would just go quickly. I would say not to be afraid of failing. Do not be afraid of failure. I think it's a great thing. I don't know for myself whether Bobby Beauty is going to take off or not, because we're still in the trenches. And I would also say, don't worry about what people say about you. That how dare you try to do this? I would have done it. I should have done my brushes, I think, back in the early 2000s, because I loved brushes and there was no space. And in fact, one of uh, my inspiration was two young girls at the time. They started Spectrum collections and they started in their garage. And I actually remember thinking, that's exactly what I want to do. And I didn't. And I just did not do it. So if you have something, if your burning desire is to create your own business or whatever it is, whether it's being a blogger, creating content, or become a writer, whatever it is, do not wait, just do it, and do not worry about failing. Failing is a really great lesson. That's what I would say.
I love that, because I think you learn so much within failure and allowing yourself the mistakes where you can then, pivot. And I think so much we're so scared of failure, and the best entrepreneurs have failed at businesses beforehand and then have used those failures to, really like, I would say like like accelerate the next business for growth because they learn from those failures. You would never get those lessons if you hadn't done those failures. So I feel like I've learned so much in those times.
Mm.
What about you, Angie?
Yes, I agree with Cranny. I actually love failure. Me and my husband, we've learned to embrace it a long time ago because failure to us is just a learning experience and it's just a very expensive MBA. So on the
Yes.
outside, it kind of looked like we launched and grew pretty fast, but that's because 7 years prior, we've launched and other products too and failed. So we were able to kind of learn how to sell a brand on Amazon, use Shopify, run ads ourselves on Facebook and all these other platforms ourselves. Like we're very hands-on with it. So that's why when it came to kind of launching, we tested again, it kind of connected much faster. And then we know how to outsource now. So we're hiring agencies that gave us, because we failed so many times, we know which questions to ask as well when we're looking for like new contracts or agencies coming to help us as well. So that has been very helpful. Another one is not afraid of failure and not afraid to ask for help. In the beginning, we kind of only had each other, so we kind of did everything ourselves. But I wish we found a group of other entrepreneurs kind of like on the same level as us. So we call them masterminds now. So we actually have a mastermind with like a couple of founders we met along the way at trade shows, etc., where we felt like we're kind of like on the same level. And because things are evolving so quickly with technology and just the rules with Facebook especially. So we would actually just exchange what we're testing and just share knowledge. And it saved us so much time and money from sharing knowledge every single month. Yeah.
I love the themes are don't be afraid to fail and community, because I think life is supposed to be about community and learning from others, right? And so part of it is like, it's the reason that Amazing Women in E-commerce started was gathering people together, allowing women to utilize the community together and learn and grow together. And instead of being on your own, you can ask the wider community. I've seen some great dialogue happening within our Slack channel where people are asking questions and jumping in and giving referrals. And I love that, Angie, you found a couple other folks that were like, to your point, at your same like life cycle of, business life, because I think that's important when you're going along, is finding people in the same journey and maybe someone that's ahead of you and then someone that you can mentor that's behind you. So one of the things I always think we forget too is how do we mentor and keep space for others coming behind us? And I think that's like a big one. Do you guys feel you both create, what does that look like as owners of businesses to create space for failure in your company? Because that's a really scary part, right? Is like, not that you can have space for failure, but that you allow space for your employees to try and learn. Do you feel like you have found the kind of balance of that? That's a really interesting one in this day and age, because it's a very narrow margin of failure being able to be allowed where you can pivot in the business. So what does that look like in there? I'm throwing a curveball. We did not talk about this question ahead of time, but I'm just so curious how you create space for that.
Well, if I can, from a cultural point of view, Europe is slightly more, we're not as optimistic as our cousins in North America. So failure for us, it's you're always expecting to you're almost always expecting to fail. So, we walk into a room, and I love when I talk to American founders, and when you talk to them, they're like, great, we did this and we did that. And then in Europe, it's like, yeah, we're trying to do, certain things here, certain things there. But I think it does come down to your personality. And the people that I have worked with along this journey, they're always in themselves, they're quite brave souls. They do things differently. And I think personality wise, I always tend to attract people who are slightly out of the box. And that's a reflection of all my friends. They're not all entrepreneurs, but I think if you have that sort of predisposition of saying failure is okay because we're just on a journey, and I think it just creates, naturally, you will create that space and people will be attracted to that space. And I think failure is, as Angie said, is an expensive MBA for free.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for us, okay, so we actually had to we had to hire our team like quite often over time. And that's because it was very important that we had to find the right culture fit. That's the most important, with the right mindset. Because skill's one thing, but you can't train. Like Cranny said, like an attitude, like the personality. So once that's set, we pretty much we experiment a lot at Kind Laundry, so they know that. So that's why we encourage that too. So when it comes to testing a lot, they're not afraid to fail. If anything, it's kind of like, what did you learn? So we'll start off our meetings. Each time we run their experiment in their department, it's like, okay, what did you test and what did you learn? We never use words failure, like what didn't work. It's kind of like, what can you bring to the team that we can do better for the next time as well. So that's kind of how we approach it in our team, their employees.
Love that. I feel like that's a really important space to be in, especially as we're not in traditional work environments of in the office, right? And so it's like, how do you promote and create a culture where it is okay to fail and okay to learn? And I think that creates leadership, and also just like folks that are in the business will, become entrepreneurs themselves one day. And how do they see and model that from the leaders that they're learning from? So I think it's a really important aspect of that. Now, like, I know it's been a really wild ride over the last few years, and it's really not going to change anytime soon, especially with a new variant coming in. Isn't that fun? What would you say your biggest challenges right now that you're facing? And like, what are you going to do to like solve them? We've sort of talked about like, utilizing your community, that sort of thing. So I think we understand that, but is there anything that you're like, I'm trying to resolve for this, or this is where I see the next like, month or two, it's been a challenge. Like, I think this is coming up, like, here's what I foresee coming up. I just love to hear sort of your perspective on that. Randy, you want to start?
I'm just actually thinking about whether I've got two challenges, and one is actually quite unique to where I am, which we can talk about, until we're blue in the face. But there is something called Brexit, which
Yes.
really impacted the way we process our orders, the way we send orders into Europe. It's much easier and simpler for me to send to ship our products to Australia than it is to ship our products literally across the sea into France. So yeah, it's just the paperwork, and also our customers not really understanding what's really happening. They actually think that they cannot buy anything from the United Kingdom, because they think they will not get their orders because of Brexit. So we may have to look at having some sort of establishment in either in Spain or in France. So we are in Europe, or even in Italy. So that is really impacted our sales. And we've had to have a very close relationship with some of our retail partners to say, to just make sure that, to say it's okay, you'll receive your orders. There are ways for us to get orders to you. So yeah, so that's been like a massive, something that we just never anticipated. And I'll say the second, sorry, go on.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I mean, I think we all thought Brexit was like done and gone. So it's perspective from a US perspective to say, oh, like you guys are still facing challenges. I can imagine what that might be like from like a, customs and import and export experience, but that's a whole nother area of navigation. When Angie, you were talking about even just logistics and like 3PLs, I can imagine what it's like from a European perspective and trying to manage that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I can just tell you, so just quickly now wrap up. For us to process an order, it used to take us literally sort of maximum 3 minutes. You do everything is sort of automated, everything is done and it's gone and gets picked up. That 3 minutes for us, it takes about 25 minutes per order because of just the sheer volume of paperwork that you have to do. You have to make sure, otherwise our customer, when they receive the order, they may have to pay duty, tax. Obviously, you don't want to do that because it interrupts that seamless customer services that we want to deliver. So yeah, it's still very much ongoing. It's very annoying. It impacts people like us, small companies. A lot of businesses are actually going out of business because of it. So
Exciting challenges
Sorry.
ahead.
I'm just
I like, there's no result. I
paused.
wish we could resolve your world problems here. Unfortunately, we can't, but I also think it's just an interesting perspective of like what you're having to deal with from that market.
Yeah. Yeah.
Angie, what's going on in your world? Like, what are you like? What's keeping you up at night right now, or what's coming up in the horizon that you foresee?
So before I go, I just want to say, Craney, have you heard of Fair.com?
Fair.
F-A Fair, yeah,
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm on it.
F-A-I-R-E.com.
I'm on it.
Does it still make it difficult? Because like I know they opened up to Europe.
Yeah, no,
Because like
they do. In fact, they do. But obviously for us, because we've been a direct to consumer as our strategy. But then we are
oh, okay.
there, but then and they're good. They're good at helping with, especially with processing of the orders and doing all the whatever,
Yeah, the back end stuff.
the
Okay.
back end stuff.
We have a few folks we could refer you to Cranny after that are partners of ours that we can probably help. Yeah. So like that's what the nice part is being able to use the community to like try to see if you guys recommendations, who are you using, what integrations are in play. If you're using, that's what's really helpful about an integrated partner, right? Is being able to find opportunities for us to show, okay, this is already what's integrated with your, if you're using us for reviews or loyalty, other things. This is like the Yotpo plug now during this conversation, but it helps that we have a lot of relationships across the board. So I think there's some opportunities for us. I'm happy to do some recommendations after too for you. Or Angie, I feel like you could share some of the, you know, experience that you've had with the brand, with the service provider too afterwards. So, but what would you say is like, you know, a challenge right now for you to navigate?
So our biggest one that we're still kind of navigating is knowing our numbers. I think most founders, because we're working so many different things that we just neglect kind of sitting down to really crunch the numbers and understanding like what's the profitability. So me and my husband, when we do this business mastery course, where it kind of every single year, and the biggest thing they did say is that I think the statistics were like only like 2% of businesses reach $1 million, and then like a lot of it actually kind of don't last after 5 years. Unfortunately, small businesses, and it's not because they don't have a great product or great service. It's really because like they just didn't watch the numbers. So that forced us to actually like sit down to look at our numbers. It took us maybe like I think 6 to 7 months. We hired a part-time CFO to really like help us because we're still early on. It's only 3 years in to really map out everything, especially when it comes to e-commerce and across different platforms. The way Shopify calculates their numbers is different from Amazon. Everyone knows, anyone that's on Amazon knows it's very, very complicated. You have to download so many different reports and like really pull out certain numbers. Then we're also in retail too. And like, you know, the margins of retail is not that great. It looks great when you have that big order, but when you like do all these promos and everything, like you don't make that much at the end.
Yeah.
So knowing the different channels and knowing how profitable we are in the different channels so that we can know how much we should spend or put effort into certain channels. So yeah, that has been a huge challenge for us that we are almost finished with the exercise with our CFO. So that's been helpful.
Yeah, I think especially now too that like you know GA4 is coming out. Like there's a bunch of different ways that attribution is really challenging for founders to figure out like where is the profit coming from, where's the ROI, where do I start doubling down on, where do I maybe remove some of the budget to focus on other things, how do I get that customer to keep spending, keep coming back, especially in your business, Angie, is it like retention is huge, and also like with subscriptions or all the other things that I think you can like, you know, layer on to make sure it's a consumer that keeps coming back, but that it's profitable because they keep coming back. But if you're not making money, it's really challenging, right? So figuring out what avenue, I think that's definitely a challenge for most folks in the industry. There are amazing providers that help to do that and to get really granular in the products. We integrate with a few of them that are really great. Like, you know, a Triple Whale or other folks that are helping to kind of see that attribution in. So I always say that it's powerful when you can see where that is performing and then being able to kind of evaluate where you spend for the next few months, the next quarters. Even from an omnichannel perspective, I'm sure it's really challenging. And then with Amazon doesn't make it easy. So it's really about figuring out where I think you can scale over the next few months to do that. So yeah, it's never evolving. Let us know how it goes in the next few months as you, you know, navigate through that challenge of trying to figure out what attribution is helping in what window. And we'd also love to just check into to see, you know, for others, it's always great to utilize in the community to be able to drop into that Slack channel, being like, this is what we did. This is how we figured out what we're profitable at. Just to share that knowledge, I think is such a huge opportunity for us as women that are navigating this ever-changing and ever-evolving landscape. So we're so appreciative of both your time and effort and insights in today's conversation. And we've hit the time. It's gone by so fast in terms of being able to talk to each other, but just great insight into two amazing women founders that have really just an inspiration to all of us in terms of navigating this business, and also just from your unique perspectives of lenses of being both international and dealing with things like shipping across countries and Brexit still, creating hassles for a lot of folks. And then also just Angie from sustainability and just like how you navigated two businesses where you maybe had to pivot into different one. It's just a really interesting learning and such an inspiration for all of us to watch you guys grow and cheer you from the sidelines. So just really appreciate the time today. And if you guys would like to take a look at any other information on their brands, we're going to be putting them on our site, where we'll let you guys see the amazing brushes that Kriney has, and also getting that stain remover, because that's going to be clutch for anyone going into fall wine season or the pumpkin latte season, where you're going to want that nice little extra stain remover in case you get it on it. So, well, that's our time for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and back to you, Liz.
Thanks so much, Sarah. And thanks again to Ashley, Angie, and Kriney for sharing your insights with us today, and to everyone who tuned in. If you haven't yet, join us on Slack, where we'll be keeping the conversation going. You'll see the link drop in the chat. To learn more about amazing women in e-commerce and to nominate someone to be a 2024 honoree, head over to womeninecom.com. Remember, every nomination means $5 for Girls Inc., and that you make someone's day. So nominate early and often. And finally, we'll be sending the link to the recording for this event to everyone who registered, so you can see anything you missed or share it with your colleagues. Thank you again so much for joining us, and we'll see you at the next AWIE Online.